Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak. How's everyone doing? Inshallah, your fast is going well, and your families are all doing well, and everyone's still social distancing and doing what they're supposed to do. Alhamdulillah. We are going to try and speed up our. We still have 6 more to go. 6 more Sahabi. Inshallah, we're going to handle one of them today. Inshallah, we get into a second one. We will. Today we're talking about Talha ibn Ubaidillah. This is one of the 10 also promised Jannah. Interesting thing about Talha is that he was 15 when he accepts Islam, and for me that's it's incredible. You know, alhamdulillah, all of us in this era, in this time, have the blessing of being born Muslim. Alhamdulillah, most of us, a lot of us. And so that choice to decide Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala overall is not something that has to be thought of. It's something that you were inbred in. It was inbred in you. It's something that you did as a youth. It's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it your birthright. So Zubair ibn Awam, Talha, at the age of 15, chose this. You know, so it's remarkable that he had the understanding to do that at such a young age. So 15 years old is when he accepted Islam. We already know. Here's some we could say accolades of his that we want to remember or mention. His mother converted to Islam. Also, he is one of the first 10 to accept Islam. He's actually number 8. So, out of everyone who is to become Muslim later on, he is number 8. You know, out of all of us, subhanAllah, we're closer to 2 billion now, and that's just now. You know what I'm saying? He is the 8th Muslim to be Muslim. That's incredible. He was also, so remember when we spoke about Umar ibn Khattab, and when he passed away, he selected 6 individuals to select the next Khalifa, which was Uthman ibn Affan. Talha is a part of these 6. He is one of the individuals on this council of 6 to pick Uthman. So he was selected for that. Talha, we're also going to get into the Battle of Badr, but also the Prophet ﷺ said that Talha, during his life, while he was alive, said that Talha has already fulfilled his covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want you guys to listen to this for a second. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed a covenant on every single human being that we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do not worship anyone else, that we obey Him, that we basically are His servants, we are His slaves. Talha, while he was alive, was given the glad tidings that he already fulfilled that covenant. And that's how strong his iman was, that's how faithful Talha was. And we're going to learn a lot about him and his sacrifice, inshallah. Let's talk about the Battle of Badr. Talha before the Battle of Badr became the Battle of Badr, it was almost like a scouting mission where they were trying to find the caravan of Abu Sufyan, which had some of the belongings of the Meccans that left and migrated to Medina. It has some of their belongings a part of that caravan, and so the Prophet ﷺ was trying to retrieve that caravan, trying to hunt it down, and it subsequently turned into the Battle of Badr. So before it turned into the Battle of Badr, the Prophet ﷺ sent Talha to do like a reconnaissance mission to find out where was the caravan. And so Talha went on this mission, and then while he was on this mission, the Battle of Badr became the Battle of Badr. When he came back, the battle is over. Now, we said that the most important people on the earth at that time were considered the people from the Battle of Badr, the people who fought in the Battle of Badr. And so Talha was given his share of the spoils of war, and the Prophet ﷺ said that he is counted among those who fought in the Battle of Badr. So he has that reward, just like we said about Uthman ibn Affan. Although he did not attend, he also has the reward of being among those who are from Badr. So Talha shares this similar thing. So it's another one of his accolades, another one of his achievements. And then we move forward into the Battle of Uhud, and this is where everyone says that Talha sort of makes his reputation. Right, this is where it goes down. And Talha, it's amazing. So we know that the Muslims were winning in the beginning of the Battle of Uhud. And the archers that the Prophet ﷺ placed on this small hill left the hill, and this gave Khalid ibn Walid, who at the time was not a Muslim, to outflank them and basically win the war for the Quraysh, right? And it was at this point when the Muslims were outflanked that chaos kind of ensued. Chaos just went rampant, and so many of the Sahaba scrambled. Many of the Sahaba got lost or loose from the Prophet ﷺ. Talha at this point, though, is with the Prophet ﷺ. And at this point, Quraysh is trying its best to, a'udhu billah, murder the Prophet ﷺ. They're trying to kill him. And they're sending horsemen after horsemen, archers after the Prophet ﷺ. We even know that in this battle, the Prophet ﷺ got wounded tremendously, where his helmet was smashed into his face, and they had to pull it out, and it was, the Prophet ﷺ himself was wounded in this battle. Talha is by his side the entire time. And so it gets at one point that the Prophet ﷺ is fleeing the battle. I want you guys to listen to some of these things, because it's incredible. They're fleeing, and they're climbing up this mountain as they're fleeing, and there's this opening in kind of like a cave that the Prophet ﷺ wanted to sort of take refuge and kind of hold down until the Muslims can regroup. So Talha literally is allowing the Prophet ﷺ to use his back like a stepping stool as they climb up certain parts of the mountain that he could not reach. So they were kind of helping each other, and the Prophet is stepping on the back of Talha, to get up the mountain. And they're getting up the mountain, and they finally, kind of barricade themselves in this cave. And it's about 11 Sahaba with Talha. So it's Talha, 11 Sahaba, a few others whose names are kind of lost in this particular moment. But all together, they're there. And now the Quraysh are coming. And they're coming, and they're getting close to this cave entry where the Prophet ﷺ is kind of barricaded at. And the Prophet ﷺ is sending people out. He'll ask, who could go out and defend us, basically. Talha will raise his hand and say, me. The Prophet ﷺ said, no, you stay here. And then he would send one of the other Sahaba out, and they would go and they would fight, and they would get murdered, they would get killed, they become shaheed, and then the Prophet would send one after the other, after the other, after the other, until it's none left except Talha. Right? So you can understand this is a very dangerous time for the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba. Talha goes, and Talha at this point is protecting the Prophet. And the Prophet ﷺ said that it was at one point in time, and perhaps this is that point of time, but that it was one point in time that all he could see to the right of him was Jibreel alayhi salam, and to the left of him was Talha. That's it. To be mentioned in that light, right? Like, I have protection of Jibreel, an angel, on my right, and then I have Talha on my left, right? So Talha was literally, he was also using his body to take shots for the Prophet ﷺ. And I'm going to tell you later how many wounds he received from this battle. So Talha is fighting, and he gets his hand injured to the extent that, not just his hand, but his arm also, that his arm becomes paralyzed. So they probably hit a nerve or something like that, but to the point that he is unable to use that arm. And then while he was fighting before this happened, he loses one of his fingers. And when he loses one of his fingers, he kind of makes this like, sound like ouch, like hiss, like that. And the Prophet ﷺ said that had you said Bismillah, the angels would have lifted you in front of the Quraysh on the battlefield. So can you imagine? Had he said Bismillah, the angels would have grabbed Talha in front of the Quraysh and lift him to the sky as if, like a miracle. That's how the Prophet ﷺ is saying. That's how elevated in your service to Islam, in your service to Allah and His Messenger, that you have become in this particular moment. That all you had to say was Bismillah, and the angels would have lifted you. That's how great his service was in this particular battle. So finally, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq catches up with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he is about to tend to the Prophet, and the Prophet tells him, tend to Talha. Talha, at this point, has before that, he still Abu Bakr still tends to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then he leaves. And he goes to Talha, and Talha has about 70 wounds. The Prophet Abu Bakr said it was over 70 wounds on his body. I want you guys to imagine this and picture this. 70 wounds he gave his body up for this battle. I mean, literally, they're shooting arrows. Talha would jump in front of the arrows to make sure that he got hit and not the Prophet ﷺ. There were men that day who were getting hit in the face so that the Prophet ﷺ would not be hit by arrows. I mean, literally, physically sacrificing their bodies for the Prophet ﷺ. And so then it was said that when it was time to, it said Talha, even though he suffered these types of injuries in the Battle of Uhud, he still fought in every single battle that the Prophet ﷺ had after that, which was quite a few. They had Tabuk, they had Al-Khandaq, they had the Battle of Hunayn. He's at all of these battles, even though his arm does not work anymore. It's paralyzed. He's still there. I mean, these men, they loved Islam. They loved the Prophet ﷺ. This was their salvation. And they didn't care about the extent of their lives. They were willing to die for Islam. That's one of the beautiful things about these men. And I pray that, inshallah, this Ramadan, we capture some of that spirit. Just that, undying, willingness to be for Islam and only for Islam. So let's move on. Let's move forward. So like we said, he participated in other battles. He was also considered almost as wealthy as Uthman ibn Affan. And we said that Uthman ibn Affan gave immense amounts of money. He purchased the well for the Muslims so that all the Muslims could have something to drink thereafter. He gave hundreds of camels to the Prophet ﷺ for battle. He gave tons of golden coins. Talha is just as wealthy. He's just as wealthy. And it says one time that in a single night, he donated up to 400,000, the equivalent of 400,000 dirhams in one night. Unbelievable. And that one time that the people of Medina, all of them, right? We're talking about over 1,000 easy, were starving. He purchased grain for everyone in the city of Medina. So again, he was one of the billionaires or millionaires of that time for the Ummah, and he was extremely generous. Extremely generous. It is said that when he passed away, he had hundreds of properties, coins, gold coins, tons of them, and wells that were all under his ownership. and this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had blessed them with. Inshallah, so we wanna move on. We're gonna move on from Talha to someone who was considered like his friend, very close, like his brother, and that was Zubair ibn Awam. And Zubair ibn Awam was married to the daughter of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and that was Asma. And Zubair has a famous son who is Abdullah ibn Zubair, and Abdullah ibn Zubair is, inshallah, maybe one day if we ever do a different series, Abdullah ibn Zubair is he was the first child born in Medina to Islam. So, he was considered to be, so when the Muslims were going through the Hijrah, he was born literally while on the Hijrah and born in Medina. So he's considered to be a good omen for the Ummah, someone that, the Ummahs could look to for blessings and good things. So he's born to Zubair. Zubair was a fierce warrior, a very fierce warrior. And it is said that Zubair had over 70 wounds across his entire body over the many battles that he's fought over his life. And his son Urwa one day was talking about the wounds of his father's body. And one day his father was getting dressed or whatever, and he said that he remembers playing in particularly 3 wounds. And 2 of those wounds, one of them came in the battle against the Romans, but the other 2 came in the Battle of Badr. And he said these wounds were so deep that he could literally put his finger inside the wound on his father's back. That's how serious these injuries were. And this was in the Battle of Badr. And Zubair was such a fierce warrior. You can spot him on the battlefield wearing a yellow turban. And it is said, and look at this, it's so beautiful. It is said that the angels who came to assist the Muslims in the Battle of Badr, they too wrapped their head in yellow turbans, to emulate Zubair. So they all dressed like the angels who fought in the Battle of Badr. They all dressed like Zubair. What an honor. Other than that, Zubair also fought in many other battles. He also fought in the Battle of Uhud, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam once gave. He has a sword in his hand in the Battle of Uhud, and he asked who would take this sword with its rights. And Zubair wanted it, so he raised his hand and he said, "Me, I'll take it." And the Prophet ﷺ said no. He asked for someone else, and somebody else took the sword, and Zubair followed this person because he wanted to see why did the Prophet ﷺ choose him over him. And so he's following him on the Battle of Badr, and he's watching him, and he's fighting so ferociously. Zubair understood why the Prophet ﷺ selected him above Zubair. Zubair was known to be a marksman with a spear. He would throw the spear so hard. It was known to be something that would go through people's armors. And Zubair was incredible. Last story, inshallah, and we will try to wrap this up a little early today. We'll move on to 2 more Sahaba. Zubair ibn Awam, when he was a young man, he went on the first Hijrah, where they went from when they went from Mecca to Abyssinia. And this was a time when the Muslims were seeking, I guess you could say, refuge, asylum, or whatever, help. And so they go to Abyssinia. And one time and Zubair at this time is very young, no more than 13, 14. He's a young man. And it's interesting that you see that it's the youth at this time who are taking these risks. They were risking their lives. So Zubair, a civil war broke out in Abyssinia, where the Negus, the king, was possibly going to lose his power, his position, because his nephew tried to stage in a coup against the throne. Anyway, they send Zubair to basically kind of check on things, right? So they literally Zubair was so young and he was so little and small that he was easily to, maneuver and go and kind of be like a scout. And there is mentioned that he was being brave at this particular moment. Anyway, these were the two Sahaba. Unfortunately, later on in life, for instance, with Talha, Talha was involved. I'm trying to say this as good as possible, so we don't disrespect the names of the Sahaba. In the time of Uthman ibn Affan, as we said, there were conflict and there was issues and there were problems, and Talha was one of the people who had some disagreements with Uthman ibn Affan. He never did anything physically to harm Uthman. He was never a part of the group that murdered Uthman, but he did have some differences and grievances, and he felt that he should have been more supportive of Uthman in the end of his days. So Talha goes later on in life, towards the end of his days, he goes to meet Aisha, who was away during Hajj in Mecca. He goes to meet her, and unfortunately during the reign of Sayyidina Ali, there was a battle called the Battle of the Jameel, the Battle of the Camel, and this is a battle against where two sides of Muslims, Ali ibn Abi Talib's side, faced off against Aisha, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ side, and it is said that to Ali, it was said at one point in time that Aisha will be on. He will have to take her and bring her to safety, right? And that something will happen, and that Ali would have to take her and bring her to safety. And the Prophet ﷺ is talking about this particular battle. Anyway, Talha is on the side of Aisha, and Ali sends a letter to Talha telling him that, we're Muslims, we're brothers, we're Sahabi, we should never be fighting like this. And upon receiving this letter, Talha is telling his soldiers to sheathe their swords, put your swords up, put your swords away. Remember, at this time he's an old man in his 60s, and he's telling them to put their swords away. And someone on the side of Ali, not a Sahabi, because again, the Sahaba didn't kill one another, not a Sahabi, let out an arrow, and that arrow pierced the armor of Talha and ended up killing Talha, and this is how Talha passed away. But and Ali was holding Talha, and he was saying, how he never wanted to be in that situation where he's holding Talha like this, and he prayed and hoped that inshallah that on the day in Jannah that they would be able to face one another in Jannah, in the sense across from each other, sitting on couches, meaning that we are brothers again. And inshallah that is the case. That's all we have for today. The question for the competition, and inshallah Thursday we will wrap up the competition, and everybody can we'll have the drawing on Thursday, inshallah. Today's question is about Talha. How did Talha lose the function in his arm? How did Talha lose the function in his arm? And by the way, we know that this functioning stopped because when it came time to give bay'ah to Abu Bakr and then Umar and all of the Sahaba going forward, Talha would literally have to grab his hand, his right hand, so it's his right hand, would have to grab his right hand with his left and put it in their hands to have the bay'ah. This is how dysfunctioning the arm was. The arm just was not functioning at all. So, how did Talha lose the function of his arm? That is the next question. I hope you guys enjoyed today's discussion. We're gonna probably compact a lot of the Sahaba as we go on, because there's just tidbits about them, because many of them weren't politicians thereafter, so we don't get all these details like we got with the first four Khulafa al-Rashidin. But inshallah we will continue the rest of the Sahaba. So this is Talha and Zubair, and I will have some more facts about Zubair inshallah next class, because there's some amazing things I wanted to mention inshallah. Thank you very much. Hope everyone enjoyed the discussion, and have a beautiful day, and enjoy your iftar inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.